Hey everyone, thanks for joining. Of course, back here with Kurt. Look, I'll kick it off. $5 million. Kurt, tell me, hey, QYOU Media to raise 5 million using a bot deal. First of all, do you want to tell people what a bot deal is? But then we'll go into $5 million and, obviously what you guys hope to do with it, what this means to the company. First things first, congratulations.
Thank you.
I'll throw it to you.
Yeah, look, a bot deal is kind of the premium form of an investment. It basically means it's a done deal, would be another word, another vernacular you could use to say it's a done deal. You do have to go through due diligence and other things through a process. And, if there's a nuclear explosion a week from now that destroys all of North America, then they can pull it. But, it has to be kind of an extraordinary event like that. So it basically means it's a done deal. And they're not easy to come by, and only companies that are expected to kind of, really move and perform get those. So that's a very good thing. Look, the first thing I'll touch on, and I for our Telegram followers, I put a little post up there. So I'll basically reiterate what I said because I think they're the major points. I mean, the first thing is the underwriters, people behind this, are Clara Securities, which is a Bay Street high flyer with a lot of companies that have gone up massively in value. Canaccord Genuity. I mean, Canaccord is the biggest investment bank in Canada, and so to have they insisted on being in the thing, and a company called Gravitas Securities that has also had an extraordinary run over the last year, in terms of everything from medicinal psychedelics and what people have seen in the massive valuations that they've been getting and followings, through obviously cannabis on its rebound and some other things. So all three of these companies are companies that have had massive wins, huge wins in the Canadian marketplace and North American marketplace in terms of what they've done, and they're companies that we've had a little bit of support from in the past. Frankly, we lost it when, we were hovering around 5 cents. These guys weren't really returning phone calls very quickly. And they reached out to us. They reached out to us as a result of what they were seeing in our movement and in what they saw happening in the business. I've met with all of them, done the presentations, et cetera, et cetera. And so this is really, really solid foundational support for the company going forward. So that's the first thing that I would point out. Second thing, which for me is what I'm most excited about, is that this is growth capital. And since we started this business, and a lot of people know we've had a rocky road and just finally turned the corner here. As I've said a couple of times, we're in the first inning of the game from my point of view. We didn't have to raise this money to survive. Every other financing we've done at the end of the day, I mean, I don't sort of wave a flag each time and say, hey, now we can survive. But, the reality is that when you're a company like this, you're raising money to keep the lights on some level. This isn't about keeping the lights on. This is about growing the business. And that's part of the reason these guys came to us, is they know that this is growth capital, not survival capital. And the difference between those two things is night and day. It literally changes the perspective they have on the financing. Obviously, the pricing of these financings, everything gets affected by that. So that's a massive endorsement from my point of view, and the first time in the history of the company that we've actually been in that position. The third thing that I mentioned, I think, on Telegram was, look, the fundamentals are coming. We're positioned for growth right now. And do we have to invest in that growth? Absolutely. I mean, friggin', the wealthiest companies in the world, Apple and Google and Microsoft, they're investing billions of dollars in growth every year. So for us to have $5 million, it's not like it's some windfall. It's just a solid base for us to be able to do things that we need to do. Distribution and carriage in India costs money. Onboarding with these companies and getting stuff on there costs money. Getting better and better influencers in their content and creating these very inexpensive but still critical original shows and content costs money. And so to have a little bit more, and we'll use it very judiciously, but where we need another 100 grand here, another 50 grand there, that's, when you're cash starved, those things sometimes become debilitating in terms of keeping the train moving at high speed down the tracks. And now we'll be in a position to do that. So that's a critical thing. Did you have a question?
Yeah, well, here, let me. You've talked for a few minutes. Look, I see this thing as an amazing thing. Already see some comments as well. I do want to stress the fact. You said it. This is growth capital. This is to accelerate the business. You already mentioned this isn't to keep the lights on. This is to get to the next step faster. And hey, $5 million is a good sum of money, which is fantastic. I see questions. People are asking. What can we expect this to be used for? You already touched on paying influencers, paying for other stuff. Do you want to go through maybe some of the things on your list, on your shopping list? Of course, we have to be a little careful here. You are running a public company, but to give people maybe an idea of where your head's at.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll have to be a little careful, but I'll say that distribution in India costs money. You don't get distributed on these platforms for free. You pay for distribution. Why do you pay for distribution? Because that's your platform to reach an audience that you can advertise against and reap advertising revenues. We have not been as aggressive in distribution as we would like to be because we haven't had the money to spend to get into the market. We were really waiting for the audience to formulate underneath us and get to the GRP ratings and followings that we've seen over the last 2 or 3 months. So we're ready to increase our distribution. So you can be certain that part of this, when I talk about growth capital, is to grow our distribution. I mean, you can make an argument that when we put these releases out that compare us to Bindos and MTV India and Zoom and these other youth channels, if we had the same level of distribution that they had, we would be getting a bigger audience than any of those channels. So now we're in a position to start to edge that forward, not in a stupid way. I mean, we made an announcement not that long ago where we added 9 cable systems. Well, those were very tactically, strategically chosen cable systems. Well, there are some of the bigger boys that cost more money. Well, now we're in a position to get into that negotiation and have the capital to be able to make those deals if they make sense, obviously. So that's a big one. Content. Obviously we're trying to attract the biggest influencers and biggest content stars that we can get. In some cases, we think there's opportunities to use them to do some form of original programming. Our show Kia Instabolta, which is basically all about what's happening on Instagram in India, we created a pilot, we aired it, it performed very well, and now we're rolling out more versions of that show. I won't say exactly when, because we're probably going to put out an announcement about that, but it's sort of our first original show that we're moving forward into production on. Well, we want to do more of those. And the good news in India is to produce them is infinitely cheaper than what it costs in North America by a big margin. But it still costs money and there's still some risk involved. So these aren't huge bets. It's not like you're betting, $2 million against some pilot for the next Game of Thrones. We're talking about much, much smaller bets. But even if it's a $50,000 bet, if you're cash strapped, you kind of don't want to do that, et cetera. And you never really know where a hit show is going to come from. So there's some stuff that we'll be able to do on that front, which I think will be important. The third thing is, and again, not to be done in a crazy, stupid way, is marketing. We have grown organically in India. We've done nothing. We haven't bought radio ads. We haven't done advertising campaigns of any sort. There's even things that you can do with your distribution partners, but they come to you to share the cost of that. We haven't been able to do that. So there's a whole marketing thing that, some of the big boys, again, are spending millions and millions and millions of dollars on marketing. I mean, Amazon and Netflix in India are spending hundreds of millions of dollars on marketing. So some of that money is going to be for very tactical strategic marketing, and probably won't come as a surprise that one of the ways we want to do that is by paying a little money to some of these influencers that are in the social sphere that we want to be in, because that's how they make their livings, to start doing promotional things for us with their audiences. So that's another one. I think those are probably the main ones. And again, having a treasury that has some cash in it, so you're not always backed up against the wall and unable to do things that that could have a material help, and affect on the growth of the business, because you gotta keep the money just to pay, rent and overhead.
Yeah. No, honestly, all amazing reasons to raise money. I know, and it's funny. I think we announced the Q&A today. I think we put the video out. In there we even talk about hiring new people.
Yeah.
Hey, we did shoot that last week. We were talking about a bot deal. So I'm assuming, also that's probably other things you looking to expand the head count in what makes sense. And hey, $5 million makes it a lot easier.
Well, we think we're in a position now to, look at people like A-list ad sales people. We really couldn't do that previously. I mean, Krishna has done an incredible job, our chief revenue officer, but he really operates across, being a COO and being a chief revenue officer and being, makes the coffee and cleans the dishes. I mean, you just have to kind of do everything under these circumstances. We feel that now, again, these are building blocks. Now that we've got an audience, now that we've got blue chip advertisers, okay, now's the time that we want to get a guy who would be higher priced than what we would have brought on previously to drive real ad sales growth. Well, now with this, we're in a position to be able to have those discussions and know that we've got a solid foundation to do it from. I mean, the thing that occurs to me, of course, because I've been doing this for the longest of anyone probably listening to this, is it was only just a year ago that we did around at 3 cents. It's a bit embarrassing and humiliating to even acknowledge that, but we had to do that because we had to stay on the playing field. My expression is, can't win the tournament unless you're in it. And we had to do a round at 3 cents to stay in the tournament. And, that's painful. It's painful for people who've supported us. It's painful for all of us. And so here we are, not even a year later, almost 10 times that. That's pretty awesome. The foundation that we're building has, just as a result of what happened today, just got more solid. That's the bottom line.
Yeah. No, and like I said, this is great acceleration. You've talked about all the points that I saw people initially bring up already. First, congratulations. I really look forward to seeing what you guys are able to do with $5 million. Because you've been really bootstrapping it for a while, and so I'm excited. I think this is great. We'll be able to do some pretty exciting videos coming up. That's what it seems like. Knock on wood. Anything else you wanted to cover? I mean, how much do we want to chat about a bot deal? Of course, I'm sure we'll get a ton of questions. I'm sure we'll do another Q&A with Jace in the coming weeks. So, I look forward to covering a lot of questions people would have. But any other questions that you think you want to address before people even ask them?
Well, I think one thing is I'm probably going to do an AMA on Telegram next Thursday morning. Just a short thing like we did a month or two ago, and just to kind of keep everybody in the loop and informed. I think the big thing for everybody to know is we've had obviously a skyrocketing situation the last 2 or 3 weeks. That's awesome. That's great. But don't think for 1 minute that I'm sitting there watching the stock ticker all day long. Of course, I'm looking because it was just like, whoa, this is amazing. But we're building a business here, and this raise is about building the business. It's not about short-term stock price. I mean, Scott Patterson, Kurt Marvis, Jay Sparks, none of us are selling any shares of this company. We're in it for a much bigger win.
Yeah, 30 cents isn't too exciting to you yet.
It's great. I'm thrilled, but I'm thrilled more for our shareholders than I am for myself, to be honest. Yeah. And so that's the way I look at it. But for me, this is, keep watching, everyone. There's going to be some real news coming down the pike here. I'm not saying tomorrow, so don't get all hyped over that, but stay tuned. This company is growing. This company's growing right now, and this investment is because of that.
Look, I think that's a great teaser for things to come. And, I'm going to take this time to thank a lot of the new people that are finding about the Q recently, your support. Thank you so much, of course,
Totally.
for your ability to help us do this type of a raise as well. I want to thank you guys. Hopefully we can answer some of your questions as well. And, let's keep kicking. Let's keep this acceleration that we've been doing. Kurt, you've been crushing it as well. I look forward to those exciting announcements coming. But again, thank you to everyone.
Me as well. Yeah, totally. I mean, everybody's been super supportive. This is going to be a fun ride.
Perfect. Well, hey, we'll leave it there with some teasers. Look forward to chatting soon. Again, I invite anyone with questions, drop them below, hop into the Telegram. I know Jason, Kurt are in there all the time. Kurt already said he's going to be doing an AMA. So, expect that coming up. But of course, questions we can throw into videos coming forward would be great as well. Kurt, thanks so much for joining, and congratulations on raising $5 million.
All right. Great seeing you, Jason. Talk to you soon.